And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today we are talking about the Washington Commanders defeating the Cleveland Browns today, 34-13. What a game for the Washington Commanders. Let's start with Jaden Daniels and how special he was today. Jaden Daniels looked every bit of a franchise quarterback for the Washington Commanders. 14 of 25 today, 238 yards via the air, 9.5 average, did have a touchdown, did have an INT, sacked 3 times as well. And you also see that he did lead us in rushing with 11 carries for 82 yards. And so the Cleveland Browns defense did come out pretty feisty. They had Jaden Daniels to a -1 at one point in time. But there was one play that I think really opened it up for the Washington Commanders, and it was early on when Jaden Daniels is able to sidestep the rush and then throw a nice dime down the field to Terry McLaurin for 60 plus. And I think that really opened it up, even though the Washington Commanders would go on to turn the football over, but they would come right back and then they would score a touchdown here. And so, look, I think that he was terrific today. I know that his QBR was not that high today, obviously, with the sacks and the interceptions, but you have to give the Cleveland Browns defense some credit. But there were so many special plays that Jaden Daniels really did throughout this game, whether it was sidestepping the rush and really looking through his progressions and making sure that we continue to move the football, or there was just so many key runs that he made that continued to keep the Washington Commanders driving the football down the field. I mean, it was just electric for the Washington Commanders today. And you have to give a lot of credit to what the Washington Commanders were able to do offensively. So Jaden Daniels absolutely had a day. Next, we're talking about this very interesting today because when you look at it, it wasn't like we had a huge day on the ground, but there were several different contributors today. And let's start with Brian Robinson Jr. So you see that he had 2 touchdowns today. We knew that he was coming in with a bit of a knee issue, and he did have to go to the sidelines, I think, early on in the half. Definitely looked like he came up a little gimpy on that knee, but he was mainly used as a goal line running back today. 7 carries, 18 yards, did a lot of tough running around the goal line. But I think that Austin Eckler, who I said in the offseason was going to be huge for this offense, especially Jaden Daniels when it came down to setting up the screen game, and also to Austin Eckler being able to get one-on-one with linebackers and things like that. You got a chance to see that with Austin Eckler today. He had a big day on the ground with the 6 carries for 67 yards, but he also had 2 receptions for 30 yards as well. And I mean, he had some huge plays today. So Austin Eckler looking a lot like he did when he was with the Chargers today. And you knew that week after being out with the concussion was probably going to help him. He definitely looked a lot fresher today, but I knew he was going to be utilized between him and Jeremy McNichols. And Jeremy McNichols had a day today as well, 7 rushes, 44 yards, and a touchdown for him. I think that they really did the heavy lifting on the ground, along with Jaden Daniels, who was able to just pretty much, like I said, gash the Cleveland Browns at times. A lot of these runs that he did have, they weren't design runs. It was a lot of scrambles and things like that, which really hurt the Cleveland Browns a lot. But, kudos to the Washington Commanders. And I talked about this before a couple shows back, that it looks like that they have a real clear identity, which is running the football. I think that when they bring that level of physicality to the game, then that is where you start to see the play actions, these play fakes off these read options and things like that. They suddenly open up. You become a dangerous football team that way. And I think that was key for the Washington Commanders today. Terry McLaurin, terrific today, made some huge plays. He did fumble the football early in the second half, but the Washington Commanders were able to recover and still keep everything on schedule. But he had 4 receptions, 112 yards. I think every play that he made was huge, got the 8 targets. Remember, a lot of people were worried about this pass game early. He wasn't necessarily getting the volume in week 1, but you could start to see the targets were going up. Now you're starting to see that he is getting chunk plays down the field. So he did a terrific job today. De'Ami Brown, right? Came in 2 receptions, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Played very well. He was a very good player out of UNC. He played with Sam Howell in college, and so for him to stick around, that was one of the things that he was good at in college was going after the deep ball. So he did a terrific job today. Talked about Austin Eckler and how he was able to win a lot in those screen passes and short underneath passes. And then how about Luke McCaffrey? I think that Luke McCaffrey, even though he had 3 receptions, 19 yards, you're starting to see that he can be a player that can really help us as far as working the middle of the field. There was no Noah Brown today because of a groin injury. But you saw that there was one play where he actually went back and grabbed the football. It was a contested football, and it was critical for a first down. And so I think you're starting to see the talent level for Luke McCaffrey, and I think that it's only going to get better for him. Zacchaeus had a pretty good day as well with the punt returns and things like that. But either way, you're seeing the receiving game. They spread it around, starts with Terry McLaurin. And also, too, just the pocket awareness of Jaden Daniels, keeping plays alive, allowing for these receivers, tight ends to get into scramble drills and make things happen. And so that leads me lastly to the defensive end. And so when you look at what this defensive unit has done over the last 2 weeks, it has been a complete flip versus what they did in the first couple games of the season. This defense has looked stellar. It's looked a lot like Dan Quinn, and we're going to be talking about that on the next show. But they did a terrific job in getting to Deshaun Watson, and a lot of this stuff was natural pressures. And so what I mean by that, there wasn't necessarily blitz call, excuse me. They were able to get in there and just simply collapse the pocket on Deshaun Watson. I mean, 7 sacks today, 33 yards in total with these 7 sacks. I mean, the Washington Commanders front line did a terrific job today. Frankie Louvu, he was in there all day. Bobby Wagner, all those guys pretty much lived in the backfield. Deshaun Watson at times literally was stepping back and literally running into Washington Commanders defenders. So we did a terrific job as far as collapsing the pocket. And then on top of that, I think we did a great job as far as minimizing the run. I thought that Jerome Ford was going to have some running room. I knew that Deontay Foreman was going to run a lot more physical, and that was going to be a level of physicality that we were going to have to meet. There was no missed tackles today. There wasn't a whole bunch of huge splash plays. We did a terrific job in the secondary, taking away Amari Cooper 4 for 60. A lot of that came down to just pressures. And then also, too, Mike Sainristil. I think that Mike Sainristil did a terrific job. He was a huge hitter on the outside today. I thought that he brought the level of physicality in the secondary, which really set the tone. And you're starting to see the same player that we saw on tape at the University of Michigan. And it's really starting to come together in the secondary now. I mean, you're not seeing the splash plays. You're seeing them keep everything in front of them. Great tackling. And the one thing that I'll add as we get ready to head out of here is that I just think that much like the offense, the defense and the playbook continues to, it looks like, expand. And so this goes into that whole theory that, the NFL season maybe doesn't start until week 4 and week 5. You have some players that maybe were injured and they're not coming back until week 4, whatever that looks like. And then also, too, it's just getting everybody on the same page and together by week 4, week 5. It looks like the playbook and everything is coming together on both sides of the ball. So the Washington Commanders, huge win today, 34-13. Victory Sunday, heading into Victory Monday. We have a tough game ahead against the Baltimore Ravens. So let me know in the comments, what was the point that stood out to you in today's football game? We'll be talking about this defense next. This is Washington Commanders Insider. Go Commanders. And I will see you on the next one.